Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the April comprehensive astrology. In this video, I will be talking to you about the intuitive messages I'm having about the month of April 2023, and then I will also pull up some charts to look at the beginning and end of the month and talk about some of the transits that we're having. And before we get started, I want to direct your attention to the 2023 survey. I haven't done a survey since the beginning of 2021, but every once in a while I like to gauge the opinions of any viewers of this channel who would like their voice to be heard about the future of this channel. So I am taking time in 2023 to kind of reassess my content and the way that it's made and how it's going out. And I also in this survey have included some macro issues just to kind of get your opinion about social media and YouTube in general as it relates to this channel's content. So that will be linked below as the first link in the description box. It's free, easy, takes probably 3 or 4 minutes to complete, and is really, really helpful at helping me to understand what where you all are at and what you would like to see. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to gauge it all, and I can go off the comments, but it's really nice to get some hard form data, also with an area for any feedback that you can write or give to this channel as well. So I made a community tab post and put these over on Patreon, but I wanted to just shout this out in this video really quick. If you can, please fill out the survey. So that will be linked below. Okay, so April 2023, finally some major progress starts coming through. I feel that some of the progress that a lot of us were looking for with the all planets direct cycle, which I did make a video about, I'll put that in the top right hand corner. A lot of the progress we've been anticipating for all planets direct actually starts in April, because February and March got kind of hampered by the lengthy Mars retrograde in Gemini. Certainly it wasn't retrograde during that time, but it was still kind of moving through those retrograde degrees. And now that Mars has moved out of Gemini and into Cancer at the beginning of April, things will really start to speed up, and we will kind of see the greater progression that we were working on back in like August of 2022. So Mars went into Gemini in like September of 2022, and then it had this really long 6 or 7 month retrograde cycle through Gemini, which has been a very frustrating transit and very kind of inflamed and rife with like communication errors and difficulties and struggles to understand things clearly. A very inflamed kind of like mental state overcame a lot of people. And now with Mars moving into Cancer, it is debilitated in Cancer. So yes, we will have another longer cycle, not nearly as long as the last one. I mean, it's making a lot of progress through Cancer just in the month of April. Nonetheless, it's cardinal and it hasn't retrograded in Cancer, so it's going to change the theme and make us understand a little bit more about some of the direct movements coming up in our own life, and I think it will just be a relief for us to have that change in Mars sign. Also, this month is going to make things move more quickly. So one of the best things that I can recommend for the month of April is having new systems implemented to some extent. It doesn't have to be perfect. I also see that a lot of people will still be creating new systems in the month of April, but that's kind of, I think, the way to work with this entire month in the most powerful way is to understand, how are things easier for me now? How am I able to actually focus on the things that matter in my life more because of things I've given myself, or also things that I have removed from my experience? So January, February, and March of 2023, we're like reducing. And I think that will still be happening in April, but you should start seeing the first fruit of progression that comes when you have more space, more time, and more ease in your life. Because I feel that there are new passion projects on the line also receiving or starting their first sparks of motivation in April. We're coming off of a Jupiter-Chiron conjunction. And I think it was Jupiter, Venus, and Chiron actually, wasn't it, in March, that will really show people the way that they've prevented their own changes, or the way that they've stood in the way and created wounds in their own life based on not allowing a certain passage of events or not allowing things to be easier. So I feel for many people that lesson was learned in in March, and now in April, we can again really feel that new spark. Of course, we are hitting Aries season. We're having the equinox on March 21st, and probably by the time you're getting this video, that's already happened, and we're in a really solid New Year energy. This particular Aries season is beautiful, okay? It's a wonderful, lighter, in a sense, more fragile Aries energy. It really is like the match spark, okay? And that can be a delicate flame as well. So there's like this feeling of like the beginning flame, or the beginning of the spark that ignites a much greater flame in the future. It's a very flammable energy we're in, and I'll tell you guys about that, okay? Careful about just striking the match in April, because it can really take off. So some of you might be expecting like a smaller result. Some of you might also be expecting for things not to spread, or expecting for things not to move, but they will. We've actually had inhibitors, okay, what I would call like energetic inhibitors, over the last few years since the time of 2020 on certain new things taking off, where we were instead called to consolidate that which was. And that consolidation should start to be very solid in April, and now the new sparks can really ignite. So I do feel there's an ignition here, and we have a dominance for certain of the air and fire masculine energy in April. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we pull up the charts, because that'll be easier to explain there. But I want to move a little bit more through intuitive messages. Masculine energy will be at the forefront. So things that we do directly in obvious, open, linear ways will be more supported in the month of April. The roundabout, passive, or hidden progressions will not have the same support. The Jupiter-Chiron conjunction already sapped a lot of people of their want to do things in secret, their want to do things away from the public or away from the understanding of others. And I feel that people now naturally feel more exhausted by the idea of doing everything also alone, or the idea of doing everything off the books, or away from the gaze of other people. Now people want to come together more. They want to integrate more. And I do feel that there are concessions that are required to do that. So the month of April may require concessions at every single level of life, from a small community level to a larger macro global level. And I feel that the compromise archetype, the concession, the giving out of kindness or out of a want for peace is a big ask for a lot of people, as there are some people who just are not willing to give without profiting, or are not willing to, from a place of ego, willing to accept any kind of fault. Also, I am seeing a lot of things in the neighborhood of like fake apologies, or staged kind of like events in attempt to boost certain personal popularity, which may work for some people. It might, but it's also like known for exactly what it is. So staged or pretended, with this Pisces and Aries combination that we have. Saturn and Pisces can be a bit like that as well, but it is kind of like known for what it is. I also feel in April that the truth of certain people's confusion comes through, and that's kind of a strange message, but like some confusion will start to be solved in April. People will kind of start to be able to see the truth about certain things that they haven't been able to reconcile. So there's reconciliation in the month of April. Also, that word can mean like coming back together with people, or reconciling differences. So that's very positive. People can reconcile, but then also at just a level of self, reconciling certain truths, understanding why certain stories happened. The positive outcome of that Jupiter-Chiron-Venus conjunction back in March is that it did get the ball rolling with like any type of self-deluding, or not understanding why things have happened, not understanding why we're in certain places. And now in April, as it kind of builds up to a looser Aries stellium with Sun, Chiron, Jupiter, and Mercury, all throughout the sign of Aries, there's just a lot of comprehension and understanding of basically the way things went wrong, or the way that things were hurt or pushed off course. I feel that we have to understand that and admit that that happened, if it happened, in order to get better from it. So I'm seeing a lot of people in the month of April no longer willing to look at things with rose-colored glasses, no longer willing to try to convince themselves that things are the way they are not. And through that greater spectrum of truth, they're igniting a new flame or igniting a new spark about like a different way or a different way forward. So that's really the main thing about April from an intuitive standpoint, is like a new ignition and understanding the way that paths change, and also the way that people get very attached to the wrong things as well, or attached to cycles that came about because of wounds. And we get tested, I think, in April about like, okay, now that things are healed, or now that things are healing, can we allow some of the generated things in our lives that came as a result of wounds to also dissipate or to move away? So I think in that way, it's again kind of a Six of Swords energy, kind of like also the world energy as well in the tarot, because people are really starting to move away from certain grids of pain and trauma. So anyway, I want to go ahead and pull up the charts, and we'll talk more about the individual transits. Again, yes, on the left we have the 1st of the month, and then on the right we have the 30th of the month, so we can see the way that things are changing over the entire month. So let's start with the beginning. Again, it's that Aries stellium, the Sun, Chiron, Jupiter, Mercury is very powerful. Okay, that's a lot of balance actually in the sign of Aries. We have the Sun and Jupiter as quite positive, great placements in Aries, and then Mercury and Chiron kind of balance it the other way, where it's like, okay, but it's kind of like checks and balances there. It's like, I will say that people embarking any type of new system, any type of new path at this point in time, it's going to take a lot of checks and balances. You're going to have to really reconcile it. Like, okay, if I do this, what are the pros and cons? If I do that, what are the pros and cons? Also, we start the month with Sun and Chiron being closest together in Aries. So that means that there could also be a feeling of being drained. I feel that some people have to take on a health regimen. Like some people might be having to just turn off for a little while, which is not like the best sign at the beginning of an equinox, because we want more so to be just like awake and there and to have rested more in Pisces. But because of all the Aries energy we had during the last Pisces season, I think that it bleeds over for some people, and they will have to maybe do like a detox or a resting phase, especially in that early part of April. That seems very likely. It's also going to be really harsh for some people why they won't allow themselves to embark a new path, or why they don't feel that the new spark is the right way, or why they don't trust that they are healed from a certain wound, or why they choose to stay also in bad situations, or to stay in things based on security instead of truth or purpose. That, I think, is the crux of April. And it's not all bad, okay? So security is a valuable commodity right now, but it is a commodity and it's not real in a way either. So it's great to be able to merge these things together, like security and purpose, and being able to not have them be completely exclusionary of one another. However, I will say purpose will never feel as secure as things which are devoid of purpose. And this is weird. It's not this way for everybody, but especially in this current modern culture, it's going to feel more secure to be kind of like away from purpose. Because purpose makes us sometimes take chances that we wouldn't otherwise take, because it is usually different from where we are. So that time of transformation, or again, that Six of Swords kind of archetype, is not always a guaranteed safe passage. But I think the passage will be fine. Also, I think that a lot of people are really overthinking security, and overthinking not just security, but overthinking the potential of a new call or a new way or a new method, to the point where it's like not super healthy. That's indicated with this Aries stellium. So I would recommend getting into the body and getting that strong, because this Aries stellium is a great time to make progress with the body. I will say that also about April. If you notice, we have Jupiter moving from 19 to 26 degrees of Aries over the span of the month. And of course, the Sun moving all the way through the sign of Aries. That's so great for getting stronger. okay, in the body, even in the mind, but especially with just like your energy levels and your metabolism can really heal during this month. So I would take advantage of that, because I think that that will help people also to feel stronger in their path of purpose. Yes, also we're beginning the month with Saturn at 2 degrees Pisces. I made a video about Saturn and Pisces. Be sure to check that out on my channel. I talked about all of the signs. It's moving 3 whole degrees, so it's moving quickly for Saturn. You know, Saturn is, by the end of April, going to really already be showing us who we are at a deeper spiritual, faithful level, and what it really means to be in like the depth of some of the spaces that we've like elected in our lives. And I do see some people at that early stage, this early stage of Saturn in Pisces, saying no. Okay, there's a lot of things that might also, that's the other thing about April. There's a lot of like negation. So in order to have this Aries progress, a lot of things have to be said no to. Okay, and Saturn in Pisces is going to support that. It's also a very nice month for the progression of art or music. We have Neptune moving a degree from 25 to 26 degrees of Pisces. This is so universal. This is like also like borderless or boundaryless for some people. Like you can really change things up. You can really transcend or emulate the depth of your own, I suppose, like universality as a person. And then also start to bring a bit of material context to that with the way in which Neptune and Saturn are still separate yet in the same sign. So it's very hopeful for people, but it can also be like a bit of an abyss for others, or a bit of like a turmoil, or just like so endless and takes so much time to think about it all. But for those of you who kind of have a perception already of where you thrive, or what your strongest point of motivation is, what it feels like to be there, it's a very advantageous month. We, of course, are starting the month with Venus conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So what an awesome, this is a great little mundane transit. We've just talked about such like high quantum, I suppose, sort of soul level spiritual concepts. And this Venus-Uranus conjunction at the beginning of the month is going to be like, just like mix up your style, just make your house a little bit more eccentric. I'm seeing some people like buying great new, I don't know, curtains or furniture for the house. Also a mix up in the diet, or a new type of food, or something like different at the skin level, a new style, a new hairstyle. Mixing these things up, I see to be a very healing area for people. And also it might like pay you back, or you might start making more money, or you might start to gain more in life by mixing things up, or putting more of an eccentric edge on some of the seemingly skin level things in your life. That's a great transit. I feel that is needed right now, because some people are too stuck or stagnant in certain projection grids. So think about mixing things up a little bit here. Also, Mars moves a great deal. It's moving fast, as Mars should, okay, after its 6.5 months in Gemini. Okay, so it moves from 3 degrees at the beginning of month of Cancer to 18 degrees of Cancer. So that's fast. We're going to finally, I think, have a lot more progress. And again, I would remind you all that we have all planets direct up until the 21st of April. Okay, we've had it for like all of February and March. We had such a long all planets direct, but I think that it got a little bit like pulled back by the fact that Mars was still transiting through its retrograde degrees of Gemini. So it kind of skewed some of the needed communications for the all planets direct phase. But this first 3 weeks of April, right, where Mars has gotten out of Gemini, is such a good time for progress. Yes, Mercury will turn retrograde in Taurus on April 21st of 2023. And again, that is at the, I believe, the 15th degree of Taurus, which we talked about in my all planets direct video. And it deals a lot with the way that life is sustained in the material world through food, through income, through housing. So by April 21st, I think that a lot of people have maybe progress with their housing, or progress with their material context. And I would try to make as much progress as you can there and anywhere in your life between now and April 21st. Any like, for some people, big purchases that have needed to be made, we like to see those in all planets direct if it's possible. Those are more fortunate times to make any type of big move in life. But yes, the all planets direct phase will end on April 21st, and it will start with a Mercury retrograde in Taurus, and it will, of course, be with the Sun, also, of course, Uranus in Taurus, and will retrograde back towards the North Node, and we will have the climax of what this nodal axis meant in May, okay, as Mercury retrogrades back, and the nodes move towards the Sun over May. So May is going to be a very climactic month. I'm going to go ahead and prepare you all for that in advance. It's great to have your systems in order and to be thriving as much as you can as a person, and to have things kind of like squared away so that we can really start to make forward strides with purpose in the month of May, because there are major climaxes coming at like the micro and macro level. So anyway, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the subscribe button below and comment. Let me know how the video resonated for you, or any of your own thoughts on some of these transits happening. I hope you have a wonderful month of May. Thank you so much for being a viewer of my channel, and check out the description box as well for any of the offerings. Have a great month. Bye.